Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN. Brian Winnekins, and this is the WRDN Morning Farm Report as we have another story from World Dairy Expo. And thank you to our expo sponsors, including AMPI, Alcivia, also Christina's Cover Crops, BioVet, Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, Compeer Financial, and Animal Wellness Center of Buffalo Valley. And today we're going to learn about dairy in New Zealand. We're talking with Jo Sheridan. She is a dairy farmer from New Zealand, and she is also the 2025 Fonterra Dairy Woman of the Year. Wow, okay. So I guess we got a salute maybe. I'm not sure, but let's talk a little bit. She had a chance to be here at World Dairy Expo. So, Jo, first, tell us about your dairy farm.
Okay, thanks Brian. So I farm in the middle of the North Island, so New Zealand has two distinct islands, geographically spread out, and in a place called the Waikato, 142 hectares and 370 cows. And we're seasonal calving, so we block calve, so we calve within 9 weeks, and we dry all our cows off at the end of the season.
Okay, so a little bit different than U.S., and tell us about the dairy industry in New Zealand. Do you have co-ops like we do here in the U.S.? Tell us how that works.
Yeah, so the bulk of our milk is supplied to a single co-op called Fonterra, and that's the group that we're here visiting America. The co-op is owned by the farmers, and the co-op is able to collect and process our milk and find the markets. So as dairy farmers, our key focus is providing the highest quality milk that we can, that is desired and has access to markets overseas.
Now, do you know, like here in Wisconsin, 90% of our fluid milk in Wisconsin is used for cheese. So for your milk, and a lot of times a lot of farmers know exactly what happens to their milk. Do you know what happens to your milk after the truck leaves?
Yes, I was so impressed to hear that even as a state alone, you're the fourth highest producer of cheese. That is so good. And you make beautiful cheeses, 600 varieties I hear, which is fantastic. I love eating cheese. So we are in the business of turning, I guess, pasture into high quality protein. And so most of our milk goes as ingredients into global products. So rather than into consumables, direct consumables, fluid milk and cheese, our country is very small. We don't have a big domestic market, but we're very good at providing ingredients.
Now, here in the U.S., there's been a big push for sustainability. Consumers want to know what happens on the farm. They want to know more about the farmer and how the animals are cared for. Do you have that in New Zealand?
We do, and in particular, our farm has a lot of that interaction. So we have 2,000 people a year come to our farm because we're involved in student education, and we're also involved in exposing our public to our farming practices. So it's a really big part of our wider community understanding our farming practices. We've got a cycleway that goes through our farm that people use, so about 4.5 kilometres of cycleway, so people get to see what our farming looks like. And it's really important that our farming systems meet the expectations of our local community, but also the environmental footprint of our global customers.
Talking with Jo Sheridan. She is a dairy farmer from New Zealand, and she's the 2025 Fonterra Dairy Farm Woman of the Year. I had a chance to talk with her during World Dairy Expo. And so here in Wisconsin, we celebrate June Dairy Month. It's National Dairy Month, but I still call it June Dairy Month. One of the things we like to do is to help with that community outreach is we have June Dairy Month breakfasts. People come out to the farm on a Saturday, have breakfast on the farm. Is that something you guys do in New Zealand, or do you not have like a national dairy month?
We kind of do, we have farm open days, which is people across all of our ag industry, so our orchards, our sheep and beef farms, our dairy farms open up to the wider public. We have one particular day at our farm where we have our wider community come in, and they travel for maybe 2 or 3 hours to get to the farm. Last year we had 790 public through our farm. We delayed our milking so everyone could watch the cows be milked. They were feeding calves, they were riding the tractor, they were planting plants in our wetland, and they were talking talking to all of the people involved in our wider industry, just so that they could understand what it takes to be a good dairy farmer and the quality products that we provide. So it's really important that we make sure that people know what dairying's about and how much we value our animal wellbeing outcomes and how much we look after our environment. So it's kind of very similar, because people don't have the opportunity to get on farms and see what we do as much. And probably particularly for you guys, because your cows are inside, they don't get to see the cows. So it's really important that we bring them into our farms and that we have farms that we're proud to show off.
Talking with Jo Sheridan, she's a New Zealand dairy farmer here at World Dairy Expo. So you've been here at Expo and in Wisconsin. Have you had a chance to take any tours of dairy farms around the area here in the Madison area?
Yes, we've been to a couple of places already. Sunshine Genetics, where we looked at IVF and embryo transfer work, which was fascinating. We've also been to Fifth Generation Dairy Farm and also Jazzy Juicy's. Both of them have been absolutely fantastic, and we've been blown away by the capability and the capacity of these farming families to run these enterprises, and how they are bringing in technology with the robotic milkers and the way they're setting up their systems to focus on production efficiency and financial management, but also a genuine care for their people. So it's been awesome to come and see your system. So different from ours, though.
And how so? How different really is it?
So we're in a temperate climate, so we're very good at growing ryegrass. So ryegrass and clover makes up the base of our feed. So pretty much, 90 to probably 95% of our feed is based on this plant. So our systems are orientated when the plant grows. So we're on a rotational grazing system. So cows go out to the paddock, they eat the grass. In 30 days, the grass is reappeared, the cows go back out to that particular paddock. And what we do is we adjust. So when it's too hot or we don't have enough rainfall or it's too cold, we use supplements to support the pasture. So we might have made silage, or we might grow a corn crop or something like that, and then we use that when we don't have enough feed when the cows are in the paddock. And we can also dry cows off if there's not enough feed, so it's a drought or something like that. So we orientate ourselves around the seasonality of our growing conditions, and that's what dictates how our systems look.
Talking with Jo Sheridan, she's a dairy farmer from New Zealand, the 2025 Fonterra Dairy Woman of the Year, and she was here at World Dairy Expo. Are there ideas and things you've seen here during your time here at Expo that are like, oh geez, I got to take that back with me home?
Oh, Brian, we only just got here. Yesterday we got to talk to a lot of the farmers, which was mind-blowing, just seeing the quality and the beautiful stockmanship presenting these animals for show. And then we've literally been back at the show for about an hour or two, and then I've been tied up with things. But I'm really looking forward to getting out and seeing the diversity of the innovations and how robust and big and broad your industry is that supports dairy farming. I think it's so exciting.
Let's talk about the challenges. Obviously, here in the States, we've been having very low milk prices. We have some export issues, that sort of thing. Always challenges. So what, and then there's the weather, that can be a challenge. What are some of the challenges that New Zealand dairy farmers face?
Well, we're in a position, we're thankful for Fonterra as our co-op managing the supply and the making sure that we're not having to focus our time and energy on that market access part of the picture. So at the moment we're experiencing a really nice payout. Our company's performing very well. We're getting good returns and dividends from them, and we're also looking at decreasing interest rates. So it's a good time to be dairy farming in New Zealand. We do have similar challenges though. We have an ageing population, so our average dairy farmer is I think around 65 years of age. So managing succession planning and transferring assets to the next generation is really important, and also finding enough people in our industry that are happy to do some of the lower skilled jobs like milking the cows, which is probably our big one in New Zealand, does become a challenge. So those are real similarities that you've got in Wisconsin as well, isn't it?
It is, and some farms, not all of them obviously. You talked about the robotics. Have you seen an expansion of the use of robotics in New Zealand because of that labor issue?
We actually, to be fair, probably about maybe 10 years ago, we saw an influx of robotics that came in. It hasn't really taken off. In a pastoral grazing system, you need a motivation for a cow to move through a robotic, and we were finding that the milking rates probably weren't as high as we needed. So we like to milk kind of twice a day during the peak of the season, and then we go to once a day near the tail end. Whereas with the robotic milking in a pastoral system, you've got to set up quite a lot of infrastructure to make cows flow, and they have to be hungry to move through the machine to get to the next paddock of pasture. So there were probably some infrastructure, and the technology probably wasn't as good as what it is now. I understand this new generation of robotic milkers are a lot more efficient, a lot more accurate, so there might be a potential for farmers to adopt it again. But no, we probably haven't seen the uptake of robotic milkers like you're seeing here in the States.
Like here in the States, even without a non-robotic system, we have ear tags, we have computer monitoring of milk output. I mean, there's stacks and stacks and stacks of data that dairy farmers can use for farm management. Do you use something similar in New Zealand?
Well, yeah, we've got a product called Halter, and so it's virtual fencing, and it also moves the cows. So on my phone, I can set up a paddock break, so like a portable fence break, and I can put in a time that I like the cows to be at the shed, and then the cows will get a cue, so they know that it's time to move to the shed. So the cows go all to the shed to themselves, they get milked, go out to the paddock, a fence will be put up. And also I can manage or monitor rumination, grazing time, heat events, all via my phone. Cows are automatically drafted out when they come to the shed, and the pen on the right is when all the cows on heat will be in the morning. We use things like sex semen, we've got automatic cut removers, automatic teat spraying. We use a lot of technology in New Zealand. We're pretty good adopters of technology that works. So we don't have a lot of things. We get premiums for quality products, we don't have subsidies. So things like innovations have to be able to pay for themselves. And we're seeing a lot of cool innovations that enhance productivity as well as make it a better quality workplace. And so we're seeing a lot of that being adopted in New Zealand.
Talking with Jo Sheridan. She's a dairy farmer from New Zealand, a 2025 Fonterra Dairy Woman of the Year. Okay, now this send a cue and the cows know it's time to move. Now, okay, wait a minute here. Just wait a minute. So you've been able to train these cows. Do they have something on them that says, oh, by the way, it's time to move? I mean, I'm sorry. The only thing I'm thinking of is a shock collar, and it's like, okay, how does this work? I mean, how do they know? What's the cue? What do you have to put on the cow to make this happen?
Cows are really intelligent animals, as farmers will know. So all we do is re-cue a cow. So in our pastoral grazing systems, often a cow would hear a motorbike and they know, oh, it's time to go to the shed. And we have very regular routines with our cows. And so all we do, it's a collar that they wear. It's got solar panels on it. It captures the sunlight energy. And all we do is re-cue the cow. So instead of somebody going out on the motorbike or with a dog or calling the cows, it's time for milking, come on girls, the collar emits a vibration, and the cows associate that vibration with a movement to the shed. And so we're just re-cueing the cows. They're very clever animals, and it only takes them a virtual fence they learn within about 2 days for their training. So they go through a training protocol, and coming to the sheds they learn reliably within about a week or two. So, and they're very comfortable with it. They have a wonderful interaction with the collar. They're very relaxed. It changes their relationship with humans because they don't expect the human to feed or move them. So when you're in the paddock, you can go up to the cows. It makes them they're very relaxed. Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. Well, enjoy your stay here in the States at World Dairy Expo, Jo.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Jo Sheridan. She is a dairy farmer from New Zealand here at World Dairy Expo. This is the WRDN Morning Farm Report.